I spend probably on average maybe 40 to 80 hours a month working different homeless shelters. And every time we went to the shelter, this young man, he sat at a table with his head on the table. So we started to talk to him, and he told me one time that his father beat him so bad that he tried to walk back to Ghana because he didn't realize that it's not a close place. But he said he just started to walking, and he ended up at the shelter. Every day I would go to that homeless shelter and I would buy him food, and I would take him to the library, and I would buy him clothes until eventually it just didn't seem right anymore. That's why I took him into my home. I helped him get a job, I helped him work on his high school diploma, even taught him how to drive. And eventually, you know, he went to live with relatives in New York. He has a job, and he comes back to see me from time to time. He phones me, still calls me Mom.
Our son Ryan is autistic. We found a program out at UCLA called the Young Autism Project. But it was university-based and something that very few people had access to. Myself and a group of parents and my husband rallied together and formed the Autism Learning Center, or ALC. And we get letters through the Autism Learning Center. One in particular, his father was writing us that he's recovered enough to where he was driving a girl to the prom. And he's going to be going to Virginia Tech. And this was a kid who could not talk when he first actually entered the program with my son. So it works, it's there, and thank God we did it, because even with our son, I can't imagine what would have happened to us if we hadn't.
I do mostly international volunteering. My favorite was really when I was in Mexico. I was in Cuernavaca, Mexico, and I was volunteering at a facility, a residential facility for adults with cognitive disabilities. And my work project that week was to paint, but it wasn't just me painting. I had 3 assistants. One of them, Jose Carlos, was like, "Oh, I can't do that, I can't do that, I can't do that." And then at the end of it, it's like, "Look at me, look at what I painted." And you know, so it was a real confidence booster. It's a joy to go there. And be a part of it, and be a member of their community for the period that I'm there.
Well, the main thing that I volunteer for is an organization that is called CASA, which stands for Court-Appointed Special Advocates. What we do is we represent children in abuse and neglect cases. We meet with the children, we meet with their teachers, we meet with their doctors, their therapists, and we really get an inside story on the child so that we can be, in court, we can be an advocate for whatever is in the child's best interest. I personally saw the greatest impact when the judge in this particular case said, "I just want to thank the CASA volunteer," and asked me to identify myself. He said, "Because I've read the CASA report," and he said, "I've gained some really strong insights into what is going on in this case." And I was just extremely proud and realized that all of this time and effort that we put into meeting with the children and getting to know them at a very intimate level really pays off, because it helps the judge to really understand what's going on in the life of that child.
So back in Pennsylvania, my mother and I have a company that we started that is centered around providing affordable living options for people that need a little bit of help. So whether it is people that are on assisted living or they have cognitive disabilities, by providing them with the pride that they get through living on their own and living in an environment where they feel like they can make it their own, and they have a sense of commitment to improving their quality of life. It's helped both the community, and it's helped those individuals become more ingrained in what the value they can bring. I am extremely proud of this effort that we've done, just because the ripple effect of not supporting these individuals, it's often realized too late, and it's something that I think a lot of people need to be more aware of.
I started working with people in prison, women in prisons and jails, because I saw that no one ever told them they were special. No one told them that they, could do more with their lives. And that was my way of supporting. So I go in, I taught anger management. I would just sit and talk. And they would try to understand why their families were angry with them. And we have these long discussions. Or they're trying to get through a GED. I would sit and say, okay, let's work on where you need to work at. So I would spend time until they pass their GED. So I just have a lot of passion for women. So that's what I did.
We started the foundation, It's America's Adopted Soldier. We go into bedside, and we had the mouse, head-mounted mouse, and the voice recognition software. Sergeant Brown, he had lost both his legs. Both his legs were blown off. He stepped on IED, his right arm, and his left hand, he had a use of a few of his fingers. He was so excited. Sergeant Brown was just, he's a hard charger getting in there. He put on his laser, on his head and everything. He was really, really getting into, probably the first time in two weeks he'd been in the hospital, that his mom wasn't doing his Facebook for him. He was so into his laptop and so into his Facebook. The docs were over there working on his arm, working on his legs, and the first time that young patriot, one of our service members, was totally involved in trying to reconnect with his friends and his support network out there. I mean, my knees just got a little weak sitting there talking to his mom. I just had to collect myself there.
My biggest passion is a group I co-founded called Ripple Effect, and it's made up of a group of women who are dedicated to combining the arts and giving back. So we look at visual arts and theater as a vehicle to raise money and awareness for nonprofits who support survivors of domestic violence and rape. Last year we did a show called Words from Prison. There were monologues by women who had been incarcerated for killing their abusers. The very first night we had a woman who had just been released from prison come with her pastor to the show. To have this woman during the talkback stand up and say, I just got out of prison, and this is why I was there, and this is why we need changes. I mean, that to me is when you know what you're doing. And everyone else in the audience listening, and asking questions and what could have been done differently and how can we help. That's when I think you're doing the right thing.
I think I've been involved in community service about my mid-20s. One that comes to mind that I'm really involved with right now is Helping Haitian Angels, and it's a nonprofit organization that was started by a couple that went to Haiti and sadly found in an abandoned building about 25 abandoned children. I was really involved with some different fundraising activities, but what I found myself soon falling into is just the idea that I wanted to help even more. I wanted to kind of get to know the children on a more intimate level. So I told my husband that I really wanted to go on a mission trip myself. So we pretty much spent the entire week together, and even though we didn't speak the same language, we could dance and we could sing, and taking the school bus to school with them, seeing them in their uniforms, and they were just so proud to have someone there that really cared about them.
Since we founded Image Church, we've been involved with Manna Worldwide, and Manna's mission is to end poverty and hunger for children worldwide. Last summer I went on a trip with Manna to Asia to visit one of the schools that we actually work to raise funds for. I was there at the school to teach conversational English with a group of people from our church, and we took a suitcase full of candy with us because who doesn't respond when you throw lollipop at them if they answer a question? The look of joy on those kids' face, just from a Jolly Rancher, and a smile and a hug, you would have thought that it was Christmas morning in the United States. So just to be able to share with those kids just a little bit of us, of our time, was a small sacrifice.